Aaron, do you want to bring up the agenda?
Yep, just 1 second. See that okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Allegheny Clarion Valley School Board Workshop meeting for November 13th, 2023. The AC Valley workshops are conducted virtually, and the link to access the workshop is always posted at acvsd.org. During this workshop, I will provide the school board members with information that will help to clarify agenda items. And please remember, the workshops are open for discussion. It's a friendly reminder, please keep your mic turned off until you're ready to speak, and then at that time, jump in with questions and comments. And at this time, can I have Madam Secretary please conduct the roll call?
Patty Anderson. Carrie Armagost.
Here.
Megan Dreher.
Here.
Brady Fight.
Here.
Diane Page.
Here.
Jeff Powell.
Here.
Janine Stump.
Here.
Eric Sundling.
Here.
And Kelly Terwilliger.
Here.
This evening, we have nobody from the public to participate. And next Monday, face-to-face, we will be meeting Jordan Merriman, the Chief of Police from Emlenton, and then our new hires from the West 2 staff, Dr. Myford, Mr. Beck, Mr. Bessler, Mrs. Ewlings, Mr. Latour, and Miss Marwood. And they'll just talk a little bit about what they're doing and a little bit about themselves. And at this time, I'll open it up to see if there's any board concerns that we can address this evening.
David, I do have one. I don't know, maybe I can bring it up in new business, but I did have someone in my township reach out to me about having Veterans Day off for our students. He is a veteran. I know we have a lot of veterans that are not only on staff with us, but parents as well, some active and former military. A lot of the other surrounding schools, maybe not necessarily Clarion County, but I believe Montauk, Karn City, and some of those districts are closed in observance of the Veterans Day holiday every year. So this family just kind of reached out and asked if that's something that we could possibly consider for next year's calendar. They do like to spend that day as a family. So that is one of the items that I agreed to present to the board for discussion for next year.
Thank you, Carrie. I do appreciate you bringing that up. And the reason why we've always had school on Veterans Day is because we have a wonderful assembly up at the high school, and we bring the band together and, invite veterans in and showcase the program up there to our high school students and a selected number of elementary school students. But I do understand the concern, and that's something that we can continue to discuss.
Yeah, and I did talk to him about the Veterans Day Assembly that we have. Unfortunately, for some reason, not all of the students received information about the Veterans Day Assembly. And I know that is put on by I believe the Do Something Good Club. I don't know if that's maybe something that we can just make sure that word goes out to all of our families, especially our military families. It seems like there may be some elementary military families that were not aware. So just making sure that we get the word out to the community would be beneficial.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think we do a good enough job as far as communicating that out, to your point. We can, have that ongoing discussion, have two calendars that we vote on whenever we get ready for 24-25 school year. But I agree with you. And I think with our student numbers declining, I'd like to get more of the elementary students up to the auditorium as well. We at one time wasn't able to hold everybody, but I think we could get more people in. Thanks, Karen. Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. And Aaron, if you can scroll down to page 10, we do have a handful of conferences and field trips in front of you this evening. We have Ms. Atwood, K through 12 gifted coordinator. She put in a request to attend a IU6 training as far as reviewing Act 16 and GIP writing, which would be very beneficial for her and our students. And then our business administrator, Ms. Andrea Stewart, she put in to attend the annual PASBO conference, and that's in Hershey. She attended last year and found it to be very valuable. We did budget for that. That is using local money, but there's a lot of networking as well as professional development opportunities for Andrea. And then our very active high school counselor, Mrs. Lowe, she submitted a couple requests to tour facilities. Her and Mr. Fight, they'll be going into New Alexandria for the tour of the Operating Engineers Union. I think this is the program where they actually were able to get in there and run some equipment, if I recall from past tours that they took. And then also Dr. Jordan and Mrs. Lowe will be going to Duquesne Light, taking a group of kids down there. There's no cost to the district for either of those two requests. They're going to be using our school vans and be able to transport the kids down there. And then finally, we have Michelle Austin. She's our PIMS coordinator, homeless liaison, and serves in a variety of different capacities. But it's really important for Michelle to stay up on this data summit and the reports. A lot of our funding is associated with that, the reporting mechanism, as well as the data changes from year to year. And she normally goes out there, and again, something she budgeted for, and that is local money. Are there any questions upon those requests before we move back up into the consent agenda?
The only thing I
so
would,
just
go ahead, Brady.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just an FYI, the operator is a training site. That's the kids can go down there. They can test out machinery. There's about 75 pieces of iron down there that they can go and use, anywhere from dirt equipment, bulldozers to cranes on about 300 acres of land. And I know the site down there is very welcoming, very happy the students are coming down there. So that's definitely a good thing.
Great, I appreciate that, Brittany. Patty?
So my point is probably a little more, I don't know, I'll call it picky because it's still part of the budget, is that the cost for using those vans is still a cost because you have an indirect cost of ownership and the cost to run those vans. So there is a cost of some sort unless somebody's sponsoring that.
I don't know, Patty. I'd have to look in to see if there's any reimbursement for mileage, but yeah, you're right. So would you like for us to figure out the mileage and the cost per gallon to put on there, or just note that it's still a cost?
I think we'd need to be cognizant that it's still a cost, but I think it would be a good lesson in the economics of it to know what it costs to run them even a mile down the road. You know, you can use federal mileage rate. In terms of, you know, what the insurance is, I have no idea what that is. You know, what the cost of the, you know, the teachers and that are going are not necessarily written into any of this other than the cost to your subs. But, you know, there's still a cost for those folks being out. So, you know, there is a cost. And the more we keep that in the front of your mind, it's those little pieces that eat up a budget.
Thank you, Patty. And you make a good point. Andrea's on here. We'll continue to work on that as we have requests come in and see if we can add some cost to that for next Monday as well.
And those are the kind of things that you should be able to write into grants as you're working to buy those. You should be able to write some of that into it as cost recovery.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Anything else?
Hey, David, on the Duquesne Light trip, are they going to contact any of we have several former students that work for Duquesne Light, and that might be something that they'd be interested in helping out with if any of them were to know that we had a contingency coming down.
That's a good point. I'll defer to Dr. Jordan. He's on this call, and since he's going down there, he should be able to answer that.
The other point of thought on that, it would be great to have them meet them face to face, but if that can't happen, maybe a pre-tour opportunity with a Zoom meeting or something that maybe those students could meet with them over lunch, or, you know, it might depend on availability, but, you know, something like that would be better than not meeting up with them at all.
David, could we repeat that question? I'm having volume issues here.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
I just asked if when you're going to Duquesne Light, if we have several former students, including my son Jonah, who worked for Duquesne Light. Just wanted to know if there would be any contact made with any of them before taking other students down.
Mrs. Logue hasn't told me specifically who we're going to meet, but I will ask her that tomorrow and can report back to the board.
It's just encouraging, I think, for kids to know that they can get a job outside of, outside the area. And we have kids from our school that actually work there.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Patty. Is there anything else? Okay. Aaron, if we could go back up to letter B on the consent agenda. We do have in front of you this evening one guest teacher, Keith Fancher, he's coming down through the IU6 program, and we are very short on subs, and we're getting very creative, covering classes with other teachers, and it's just becoming difficult, not only with professional staff and support staff as well. And you'll see we have a motion a little bit later on in the agenda to re-advertise for substitutes within the district. So we welcome Keith. And then we also have a number of volunteers in front of this evening. Letter C, Brock Weigel, AC Valley graduate. He was one of our superstar baseball players, and he's an asset to the team. He's volunteered in the past, and we're glad to have Brock with us again. We also have Dustin Kiefer. He'd like to volunteer for junior high boys and girls basketball program. And then, of course, Heather Nolf, she's helping out with the PTO. Heather's been very involved with the school district for a good number of years. She helps get us trained for CPR and has a couple of kids in the district. Letter F is a retroactive request from Stephanie Masters and the AC Valley PTO. Sometimes as they become, volunteers, they don't have the same timeline as us. We'll continue to work with her, but they wanted to use the PTO room for holding a meeting. And we just put that in there more so for transparency than anything else. All those PTO members have been approved as volunteers. And then on the top of page 2, you'll see Valerie Snyder. She helps out with the volleyball program. She's asking to have the Legacy Club volleyball program come in here and use the elementary and high school gymnasiums, kind of like off-season open gyms. If you recall, Coach Knox used to do that for a good number of years in the past, and to have those kids in the gym and off the streets and practicing on their skills, I commend Valerie and the request coming in here. She will be working with Mr. Sherman to make sure that the gyms are available. Our current varsity program will have first dibs in season for those gyms, and then she'll work around them. Letter H is a request from Faye Gibson, our elementary basketball coach. He works with the girls basketball program and does a great job down there and has a number of different activities planned for the kids. Full court basketball, 3-on-3, 1-on-1, shooting drills, knockout, round robin, whole 9 yards. And then they'll finish off with a pizza party at the end of that program as well. And then letter I, this is 2 years in a row, but we had a request from Whitney Banks from Chapel on the Hill to use 2 spotlights. These lights are not being used. They will treat them with the utmost care, pick them up and drop them back off. And I do encourage us to loan those to Whitney Banks as we did in the past. So before we move into finance and purchase, I'll see if there's any questions or need for further clarification. Finance and purchase, we'll pay the bills A through F next Monday. And I'd just like to point out the donation from the Servicemen Club of Knox. They donate $2,000 each year. We break it up between the boosters who are listed in there, and a lot of those programs utilize that money to benefit the kids here at AC Valley. Letter H is a updated donation figure. If you recall, back in July, the Clarion COVID-19 committee had donated, at the time it was $39,818. By the time they paid out their bills and took care of their accounts, the donation's actually $33,518.41. And I've worked with Tom Webster from Webster's Fitness and the PE group, as well as Mr. Milford. And we're going to use that money to update the weight room. We're getting a dumbbell rack. We're adding additional dumbbells, 5 through 50 pounds, a women's training bar, 3 300-pound rubber Olympic weight sets, wall-mounted pull-up station, a leg extension, leg curl, a rowing machine, 2 treadmills, a hack squat, a number of rubber band resistant training mechanisms, a elliptical, a safety squat bar, accessory handle packages, training belt, shrug bar, half rack for squatting, adjustable bench, and a pulled-on landmine, which you can do a variety of different exercises. Maybe some of you aren't too excited about that, but I know I've got a number of staff members and kids who are very excited about the updated equipment. We're hoping to keep everything we got and just add to it. So Tom's going to come up here. We've got the order process. They'll help to deliver it, and we're hopeful to have Tom do a demonstration with the PE teachers and kids if we can coordinate the schedule. So we're very happy to be the recipient of that 33,000 plus to add to the weight room fitness center. And then finally, under finance and purchase, we have a donation from the Embleton United Methodist Church to $505 to go towards delinquent lunch accounts. At the end of the year, the business manager, cafeteria manager, and myself review some of our more needy families and the delinquent accounts, and we're able to help offset some of those costs. So we thank everybody for the donations. Are there any questions about those items? Moving into personnel, we do have a posting there in front of you to advertise for a full-time heavy-duty 3 to 11 custodian. That's to replace Mr. Preston upon his retirement. Letter B, we have a letter of resignation from Jeanette Amsler. Jeanette's one of our light-duty custodians down here at the elementary, working 3 to 11. And she's been with the district since March of 2006. And then letter C, of course, is to post that light duty vacancy 3 to 11, and they'll both be in-house. And then on the top of page 3, you'll see that we have. Yes, jump in there.
Sorry, David. I do have a question. So for the replacement for Richard's position, wasn't it before that they the two of them would switch between day shift and night shift there?
Yes, Richard and Jay, they had that worked out that they would flip-flop between day shift and evening shift.
Okay, all right. And so now when we rehire, it's going to be just for strictly evening shifting. Yeah,
whenever school's in session during the summertime, everybody works the daylight 7 to 3. But with the light duty, they've always had the 3 to 11 shift, and with Jay staying on and Richard retiring, we just figured we'd advertise for the 3 to 11.
Okay, all right. That's what I'm just double checking. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. And then on the top of page 3, letter D, we do have an advertisement, again, as I stated earlier, for cafeteria, custodial, secretary, and aides, and teacher substitutes. And then letter E is a follow-up. We have more and more needs, it seems like, with students with specific disabilities. We advertise for a part-time position. We may have somebody interested this week. We just found out about that. And but we need additional support. So our recommendation is to advertise for a full-time child-specific aide. Dr. Maines is working with our aides as far as billing medical access to help offset some of those costs, working with certain kids in the district. So we have the need right now, so we are making that recommendation. Letter F is a letter of resignation from Mike Parks. He's our softball coach, and he's going to continue to work with kids in the communities for youth softball, but he no longer wants to be the head coach. Then, of course, letter G is to advertise for that vacancy. And then, if you recall, we did fill our head basketball, boys basketball coach. So now we're looking for an assistant varsity basketball coach, and we'll be advertising that formally. And then this past week, we did receive a letter from Amanda Gasby. Just keep in mind that Amanda is working full-time elsewhere and will come down here one day a week because of our need. Our current speech pathologist has too many on our caseload to legally be able to serve everybody. And it worked out very good, but due to extenuating circumstances not related to AC Valley, Amanda is resigning. So we'll advertise for that position, but I'm also in communication with the intermediate unit just in case we do have additional needs and we can't find somebody part-time. And then letter K and L comes from the high school, Dr. Jordan and Mr. Sherman's recommending that we hire Jake D. Hart for the elementary boys basketball position at a contractual rate of $878. And then also Anthony McGarvey for the head JV boys basketball coach at $1,427. And then Logan Pistorius as assistant JV boys baseball coach at $1,427. And if you recall, Anthony did a real good job up at the high school with the varsity basketball program a few years ago. And then moving into the next two motions, we will be interviewing 2 special ed teachers for West 2 tomorrow morning. And this was through the initial posting and the reposting. We have 2 qualified candidates pending a interview, appropriate paperwork, certifications, and reference calls. We're hopefully optimistic that we could put 2 certified special ed teachers in front of you. Keep in mind that this special ed costs are written into the grant, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the Western Secure Treatment Unit grant that we're receiving. But this money was initially earmarked under intermediate unit number 6. But working with the executive director up there, we feel as if we can have more of a secure employment of these staff members down here at AC Valley if we hire them on, and we'll continue to contract through the IU for supervision of the program. So more to come on that, and I'll provide an update next week. On the top of page 4, we still have more personnel. We have employee 143, Weston FMLA leave, 4 to 6 weeks. And then a little bit later on in the agenda, we will be advertising for long-term sub to fill that position. And then we're also working with employee number 54 for FMLA leave as well. And then letter R is that advertisement for a primary level elementary teacher that we'll have to try to fill. S is the formal contract for James Best. We approved hiring James. He started. The team's working very well together. We miss Mark dearly, but James is doing a fine job. Mark Milford's old contract was sent to Attorney Kuhar. He revamped it, didn't take anything out of it, but changed the format of that and put a little bit of language in there as far as the retirement clause that we had discussed with the school board in the past. So we have a very good contract in front of you for formal approval, and it'll be retroactively approved from November 1st, 23 to June 30th, 2026. Moving down into the internal staff who are working in conjunction with the Western Secure Treatment Unit. This is part of the budget. It's an ongoing discussion that we've had. I've worked with Solicitor Shekel as well as Attorney Kuhar to come up with these motions. And we have a handful of staff members in front of you. We also have the superintendent as well as the cyber coordinator and both technology technicians that we're still working on right now. And we're hoping to have motions and an MOU in front of you in January. But I'm not going to read all the motions, but the first one I will read, and then it pertains to the other employees. And then I have a short write-up as far as what the additional work looks like. It's a salary increase for the business administrator, Andrew Stewart, by 20% to compensate for the increased work and responsibility resulting from and associated with the district's operation of the education of the students at the Western Secure Treatment Facility. The 20% increase shall be based upon the positions required 220 days from July 1st, 23 through June 30th, 2024. First year will be prorated to the number of work days available from the middle of September through June 30th, 2024. The 20% increase shall continue thereafter as long as the board finds the increase appropriate based on the continued amount of required work and responsibilities of the Western Secure Treatment Unit. And that goes along with the budget as well. So the grant that we submitted was $2.35 million to hire on the West 2 staff that's in front of you. pay for the intermediate unit contract, supervision, technology, supplies, legal work, and then offset 50% of these employees' salary and benefits. And the reason why I wrote the grant with 50% in there is because not only would it be a 20% increase of work, but that 20% is going to be tied into roughly 30% of the workday. And that's where the 50% came from. And just keep in mind that these increases for these staff, as well as the other ones that will be forthcoming, does not require any kind of local taxpayer money. In fact, this grant is actually going to relieve the taxpayers of AC Valley anywhere from $750,000 to $900,000 to offset the cost of the staff to help run that program up there. So that's the basis of the discussion associated with the raises. So as far as the business administrator, she's been working with the superintendent to help develop the budget currently, and will continue to work with that budget, which is roughly 20% of the current $17 million budget we have. Submitting quarterly reports and financial tracking for the West 2 budget, work with the PDE, Department of Human Services grant, reviewing and approving purchase orders, payroll for the West 2 staff, and everything that goes along with that, including and not limited to PSER, Social Security, paying benefits. She will be reviewing tuition billing prior to sending it out for accuracy, because we'll be able to bill homeschool districts as well. Pulling information whenever we have the end of year audit. She'll be working with the federal programs coordinator on the Title I delinquent youth report and ongoing information needed to run the program. In addition to that, we have in front of you the accounts payable and superintendent secretary. And outside of myself and Michelle Austin, everybody who's worked with Mid-Atlantic in the past had since retired. So everybody's new. We've been going through a lot of trainings, and it's been ongoing. So Courtney is brand new to the position, and she'll be working with the business manager as well as all the staff members for various marking periods for the Focus student information system. She will work with the attendance calendars. She'll help to manage all the internal settings for the Focus program, tech support. She'll help to roll over student information and teacher information from year to year. She'll continue to work with the billing side of things for Focus. As accounts payable, she'll be in charge of ordering all the supplies for technology prior to us purchasing computers, laptop cards, smart boards, and softwares associated with that, internet hookups, website, and educational technology. She'll submit all the POs for the CSIU system. For West 2, she'll have a copy of all the POs, invoices, and checks ready for the grant. She'll monitor and track everything. She'll be paying the POs for all the bills that go through the West 2 program, ordering supplies, reimbursing the district-wide secretary for her needs up there. She'll work with the superintendent for any kind of technology that they may need, attending weekly meetings. We've been having weekly meetings internally to ensure that we're all on the same page and we're supporting the program. And she'll continue to help with the billing. And then we have in front of you attendance officer, PIMS coordinator and homeless liaison, Michelle Austin. Michelle had worked and understands the amount of work that goes into running that program. She will be preparing our Focus system. She'll help train our new district-wide secretary on billing and enrollment areas for the Focus program, create a tracking spreadsheet, drafting enrollment packets, creating new releases for paperwork, working with PDE for the billing and reporting. She'll be working with the West 2 AC Valley staff, training, and she'll be sending out the 4605s. They're creating the calendars and then new filter and upload the databases to the PIM site that we had talked about earlier. She'll be working with the PA Secure ID for students entering the facility. She'll be doing enrollment, review the billing, entering PIM data, ongoing work with 4605s, and that's basically sending out acknowledgement to the homeschool districts that the students are up here, and sometimes that's a bit of a challenge. It helps to spark the transfer of paperwork as well. She's also our foster care liaison, so she'll be in part of the bid meetings that we have. She's our McKinney-Vento student homeless liaison. She'll work with the Board of States if we can't find a parents or a responsible adult. She'll report to child accounting. She'll work with the focus. She does all the PIMS reporting, including the PVOS report out October 1, December 1 uploads, and various assessment reporting. Next up, we have Central Office School Board Secretary, Ms. Tammy Thompson. She started, mid-September as well. She helps with the HR side of things. She prepares the advertisements for the job openings and the local newspapers, and did a wonderful job. We had roughly 65 applicants for all the positions. She posted on the website as well as in-house. She tracks all the applicants. She was the one who helped collect and coordinate all the paperwork. She creates an application for the new hires. She contacts the applicants. She does all the scheduling for the interviewing, includes all the information for the new hires. Once the new hires come in here, then she also works with the superintendent to ensure appropriate documentations on file. She reviews clearances and paperwork in a timely manner. She forwards the completed insurance paperwork and helps work directly with our insurance companies for health, prescription, dental, vision, life, and disability. And then ongoing insurance coverages are correct. And she does that on a yearly basis. And she reviews insurance plans for all our employees. And then also we have the school psychologist. Miss Anna Smith is in front of you as well. She'll be doing additional work associated with the screening, assessment, and special education supports. She'll be attending intake meetings. She'll be attending IEP review meetings, conducting mandatory reevaluations. She'll sort through requests, review past records to get the best picture possible for the students, whether it's a new evaluation or a reevaluation. She'll coordinate with the homeschool districts, IU personnel, and the West 2 staff to garner input and ensure that reevaluations are done in a timely manner. She will be going on site. She'll do direct assessments. She'll write reports and participate in meetings after completion. And all of that to ensure not only a wonderful education for the students, but also to ensure that we're in compliance. She'll send all the paperwork to the appropriate people once she does her assessments. Serving as part of our LEA, new kids coming in there may or may not be identified, and that falls back on what's called child find. So pretty much we're going to do a review of every student that goes up there to ensure their education, but also to ensure we're doing our due diligence. She'll work with special education services up there and to ensure that no student who has a disability is being educated without having the proper supports. She'll do that initial evaluation. She'll collect the information and do an assessment and provide recommendations for special education. And she's also been participating in our weekly meeting as well. Okay, so that's personnel. Are there any questions or follow-up to the information presented? Moving down into instruction. Oh, I'm sorry, did somebody say something out there?
No, I just thought you were waiting for an answer. So I said, nope, sounds good.
Thanks, Betty. So moving into instructional services, we're going to have Dr. Myford present her student handbook and the unit enrollment credit count that she had been working on. But I'd like to draw a little bit of attention to the calendar because I put a lot of work into the design of that. And although we didn't get the full year in, from this point on, these teachers will be working the contracted 183 days, same as the AC Valley teachers down here on campus. But what's going to be different, and we did it for a variety of reasons, but we're going to be working 4-day work weeks up there. And that was one thing that we did to attract, but also hopefully keep teachers up there to have those 3-day weeks. The rite of passage, folks will be doing different programming on that Friday. This will start at the beginning of August and conclude at the end of June each year. The holidays are written into the calendar. We have Thanksgiving break off for the staff up there on November 23rd, and then the long weekend. Winter break is December 21st or 25th through January 1st. Easter break is April 1st. Memorial Day break is May 27th. And I'm going to try to coordinate these days with the AC Valley staff as well for professional development. We couldn't coordinate November 28th because we will be doing safe crisis management training at the facility. So the West 2 teachers have to stay up there. But we do have a coordinated approach for January 15th and February 19th. Those will be our next two Act 80 days. So that's the calendar that we have in front of you for formal approval. We started the first day was November 6th. We got kids late in the day, but that was our first anticipated day. We were fully staffed up there, ready to go. Dr. Myford and her crew did a lot of work to prepare. They have handwritten and material for the kids onboarding assessments, and we're working with our cyber coordinator right now to get all the kids in the system, and we're slowly moving in the right direction. As of today, we have 13 kids up there, and we're working out a few kinks, but things are going good. But next Monday, Dr. Myford will present more information on that. I just wanted to highlight that calendar, and I thought it was pretty creative. So with all that being said, as we move down instructional services, we'll dive into the next 25 motions. And I am going to read those word by word. No, I'm not. I'm just making a funny there. But what we are going to do is have a discussion about the different items. Now, we've done a lot of work. We had community meetings. We had internal meetings. We had a survey on the website for the community, which I shared with our school board this afternoon, as far as the data collected from all three school districts, Keystone School District, Union, as well as AC Valley. And then we also had a student survey that I shared with the school board as well. So they've heard from a variety of community members. They have data in front of them, and I'm sure that all three school boards will make the right decision. Briefly coming down through here, we have, like I said, 25 items that are connected into the cooperative agreement. We have varsity and junior varsity football. We have junior high football, varsity and junior varsity cheerleading, and junior high cheerleading, varsity and junior varsity boys soccer, and varsity and junior varsity girls soccer. We have junior high co-ed soccer. We have varsity and junior varsity boys cross country. We have varsity and junior varsity girls cross country. We have junior high cross country for the boys, and then we have junior high girls cross country. And then we have varsity girls golf. We have junior high girls golf. We have varsity and junior varsity girls basketball. We have junior high varsity girls basketball, varsity and junior varsity baseball, junior high baseball, junior high softball, varsity and junior varsity boys track, varsity and junior varsity girls track, junior high boys track, junior high girls track. And then letter Z would be if we do pass one or all of them and moves into the District 9 committee, then we have a handbook that all three school districts have been working on that would help to streamline a lot of questions and hopefully prevent any kind of ongoing issues. Now, with all that being said, just keep in mind that we do have the motion written that if one of the schools say do not approve a motion, then the current agreement stays in contact with Union. If all three schools do approve one or all of the motions, it does need to go in front of the District 9 committee. So there are a number of steps that still need to be taken into consideration, and if the D9 committee approves it, then I'm sure we'll be notified afterwards. So before I get into the final two motions, I'll stop right here to see if there's any questions or comments or feedback as far as those motions, the process, and timeline goes.
Sure, I have something real quick. I definitely would like to take a moment to thank the taxpayers and the public for voicing their concerns over this subject matter. I've gotten at least half a dozen emails from different parents, taxpayers, some students, some staff at the school as well. So definitely thank you guys very much for voicing your concerns for it or against it. Either way, I'm just very happy to see some public engagement in this discussion.
Thanks, Brady. I agree.
I just want to mention that although, I too appreciate, everyone's commentary and everyone's thoughts and concerns, it is our job as a board to make the decision that's in the best interest of the students and the school. Parents don't always have an objective perspective. So we need to keep that in mind as we make these decisions. There have been some board members who have not been as actively involved in the conversations as others. There have been some of us who have talked to coaches and, people who are directly impacted and students directly impacted by these mergers. So, if you have not had an opportunity to do that, I encourage you to do so to make sure that you are making a decision based on correct, accurate information and not just public opinion or your own personal opinion. That's not what we're here to do. This is going to be a very important vote. And so I just encourage everyone to remember why we're making these decisions.
Well said, Karen. Okay, moving down through the agenda, we have 2 items remaining as we continue to enhance the collaboration. I'm on AA and BB, Aaron, so a little bit further up. We do have in front of you as a discussion with the 2 athletic committees working together, just ongoing communication. So we have volunteers that are going to be over there with Union who will be interacting with our kids. So we have Matt Coral and Emma Fox that they'll be putting on. And then also for ongoing to be able to be transparent, we do have a number of coaches. They open up their coaches each year. So we have a list of coaches in front of you this evening from Union School District, and their coaches, I believe they've coached over there in the past, but unlike AC Valley, they do open it up. So as we continue to hire coaches, we'll be putting the names on their agenda as well. So we'll transport that over to their district. Are there any questions about any of the agenda items, the co-ops, the coaching, the volunteers that I can address before we move into policy?
I only have a comment for people to ponder. If it doesn't really matter, I guess. I mean, it matters, don't get me wrong. But depending on if it's a 2 or a 3 or a no on any kind of co-op, I really like the idea of an annual, re-up of contracts. I just think that gives a graceful out for those that feel like maybe they're pinned in or don't want to, or feel like they have to serve the district because they don't feel like others might want to. It doesn't mean that I think anybody's doing a bad job. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think that a year to year, so that opportunities or needs as they might need to be, I think it's a good idea to look at them annually.
Patty,
So
can I
Patty,
jump
just
in
a
here?
little bit of, I'll go ahead, Bill.
David, I just want to mention that PIAA does not permit new co-ops to just be 1 year. They have to be 2 years to go the full cycle before they are able to be considered again for teams to walk away from that.
So are you saying that the coaches could not be looked at year to year?
The coaches could, but I'm
Because
saying
of
as
that?
far as the co-op, maybe I misunderstood you.
No,
but,
I understand that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I do understand that once you have a co-op, there's a time period. I do understand that piece.
okay, I'm sorry
I'm
if I
just simply
misunderstood.
saying from the coach perspective, I think that it gives grace to the system and an opportunity or I think it gives opportunity if you look at them annually.
So Patty, just for clarification on my side, so you're recommending that we open up the coaching positions each year like Union's doing, or just
That's what I would encourage us to have that conversation depending on where we go with this.
Okay, that'll probably
I know that we have some very talented coaches. I'm not saying anything about the capabilities or the abilities of any of our coaches. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that it gives opportunity. I honestly think that there are things that we probably should be talking about a little bit more. I know that there's budget issues that prohibit some of that. And for this year, at least the budgets are kind of a null and void point because of the way the budget is. But I think that it offers the opportunity to revisit a number of pieces with those coaches. It's not just a performance based, it's a total package base.
Okay.
The last thing that I just wanted to point out, David, we as a board have not had an opportunity to sit down. Well, it's not that we haven't had an opportunity, but I guess it was not desired to have a meeting post the November 1st meeting with all 3 schools that were held at our school. Just want to point out that we're the only board who did not do that. Keystone went back to their school. Their meeting is tonight with public participation. Union also hosted a meeting with their board, and they invited coaches in to really take a look at each individual program so that they could discuss this as a board, and made sure that every board member had the information they needed to make an informative vote. I'm kind of disappointed that we did not do that. Some people, felt they had enough information from the public meeting, but I think there's a lot more to it. And I'm just disappointed that we were the only board who chose not to sit down as a group collectively and discuss this in depth, because I think it's pretty, it's a pretty hot topic. I know people are tired of hearing about it, but it's still in front of us to vote. And I'm just disappointed that we were the only group that chose not to do that.
Yeah, you make a good point, Karen. We could stay on after this meeting and continue on with that discussion because it does impact personnel moving forward.
I'll leave that up to the rest of the group. I know Megan and I, I think we're probably pretty up to speed on a lot of the information that we need to make votes on the individual programs. I just know that not everybody else was involved in those conversations. Not everyone was at the meeting on the 1st. And so I'm just not sure where the information is coming from for all of the other board members to make to vote based on factual information and numbers and things like that. So I just want to make sure that everybody has what they need and has the information they need to make good decisions, one way or the other.
I have to say,
I would
Carrie,
like to
I
just
feel
point
like
out,
I've gotten plenty of information with. I mean, I feel that I've gotten any information I need to make better with what's been sent to us and what was discussed at the meeting and the discussion we had prior to that meeting. I'm fine with what the information I've got.
I get
would
that,
like to
Kelly.
point out
I just
that,
don't know if everybody else has. That's all. I just want to make sure everyone has what they need to make a good vote.
I think everybody got the numbers. I'm not sure what else they need, but I know David sent out all the numbers as far as what's in each sport to each board member.
I'm just talking about, you know, other concerns that have been brought up regarding transportation and things like that. I think there have been a lot of things that have come out after the November 1st meeting. And we've not had any discussions that have related to this subject after that, other than, you know, recaps of the meeting and things of that nature. Like I said, I just feel like we're not all on the same page. And, you know, I'm not saying that I'm voting yes on all of these agreements, because I think there are some that, you know, maybe we don't have to vote on at this point in time. But one of the things that we've always been very good about as a board is discussing things and being able to come to, you know, some agreements. And I feel like this is just one that we haven't discussed as a board to, at length. I mean, I think everything's been piecemealed together. That's all. I just don't feel like as a board, you know, I've talked to the other boards, and, you know, union seems to be very, very much on the same page after, you know, having discussions at length and inviting coaches in and hearing coaches' perspectives and getting a better understanding of how this benefits each individual program. I think Keystone was also hearing from coaches tonight, and the public. I don't know how Keystone's going to vote, but I just feel like that's the one thing. This has been such a hot topic, and I just don't feel like we've been able to discuss it as a board to maybe come to a mutual understanding. That's just my personal opinion, Kelly.
Thanks, Carrie.
Anybody else? Brady, you were trying to get in there for a moment.
Yeah, so the comment about the meeting that happened on the 1st or 2nd of November there with the 3 schools at our auditorium, just because you were not present physically at that meeting doesn't mean some board members like myself, you did not utilize the online streaming service. I couldn't be there due to work, but I definitely did listen in on the streaming service that was provided for that meeting. So I was aware of what was happening in that meeting.
Okay, as we move down through the agenda, I do want to make note that we do have School Board Policy 006 meeting back in front of you. This was updated in September because of a PSBA recommendation. They didn't have our order of business down as far as how we operate on a voting meeting, as far as starting out with the flag salute, the moment of silence, roll call and such. So we had to get that updated. That was the only change in this policy. We just aligned their format to how we operate here within the district. So we needed to put that back in front of the school board for formal approval. And then just as we finish off, we'll report out on facilities next Monday. Transportation, we have Pam Meyer. She has Janie Jack in front of you for a substitute driver for her fleet. And under miscellaneous, we'll hear from the Career Center and IU. We do have a little bit of correspondence in front of you. We have a book from PSBA, Memoirs of a Parent. I did read that before I put it in front of the school board, and there's nothing controversial about it. It tells a really good story. And then we also have in front of you a thank you note from the Falcon Fellowship. They had a night of prayer, and they utilized the high school auditorium. So at this time, that concludes everything that I have. I did take some notes. I know that Carrie had a question from the community about the Veterans Day, whether we have a program, whether we have a day off. If we are going to have a program, we have to increase our communication. Patty's request about the bands and the mileage, I'll work with Andrea to come up with some figures. And Patty also talked about the potential of opening up coaching at the end of each year. So is there anything else that we need to address before we adjourn from the workshop this evening? Okay, hearing none, I appreciate everybody's time this evening, and we'll see you face to face on Monday the 20th. And I hope everybody has a wonderful work week.
Thanks, David.
David,
Thanks.
I will need to join by Zoom on that. I'll be on the West Coast.
Okay, we'll get a link out to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
good night.